Okay, so what I should have ended the last section part, whatever, with was saying, okay, the naive uses mn time and KMP uses m plus n. So that sounds pretty good. You know, can you do better than m plus n? Because m plus n is the size of the input, right? So you think, well, how can I not look at the whole input? Because if I don't look at it, then there might be, I might say no, but the part that I didn't look at might be a yes. Oh, I haven't put my screen thing up, that's why it's distracting. So the idea is, in the worst case, it's actually going to take you m plus n. But you can, in some cases, you can do better. So Knuth Morris Pratt is going to read from left to right. But can we, in practical cases, can we actually do better than that? And so we get to this idea of Boyer-Moore, which sounds a bit weird when you first hear it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Boyer-Moore. It's because I want to spend more time on Karp-Rabin. But the idea about Boyer-Moore is before we were, for naive, we were doing, so T equals Allah bar, Allah barda. And then for naive, we're doing ALA and ALA and ALA, ALA. So you're doing these comparisons. And, okay, so then here and here and here. And then, oh, I missed one. This is so right. So you would think that's the natural way. You're going to slide. So you sort of slide the pattern along, and then and do these comparisons. That's the naive. Whereas what you can think of KMP is doing is you're still sliding the pattern along, but now you're not doing all of these comparisons because you're just saying, okay, A, L, A, okay, then you know that this is wrong, so you keep sliding the pattern along because you know this is that this is an L and it doesn't match an A, so you would slide it, you take it here and you would slide it here, and then you would say, okay, now I'm going to read the B and now I'm going to read the A. So you can still think about it. So what KM, it still works from left to right. It reads the characters from left to right. Boyer-Moore doesn't quite. What it's going to do is it's going to do ALA, but then it's going to do this comparison first, and this comparison, and then this comparison. So it's going to, it is sliding the pattern from left to right, but then it's going to compare the characters from the right end of the pattern and work backwards. And why do you like to do this? Well, because if you say, okay, ALA, this B doesn't match an A, so you don't have to do this comparison, right? Because you know you don't get a hit here. And in fact, now this is the advantage. There's a B here. There isn't a B in the pattern. So if you slide the pattern over 1, it's going to be A, that A would check, but then you still get a B. There's still something in here that that doesn't occur anywhere in the pattern. So in fact, you know that you can move the pattern all the way over here. Right? Because you know that this B, that moving the pattern anywhere here where it overlaps this B is not going to help you. You're not going to find an occurrence because there's always going to be a B there and it's going to mess things up. So in fact, you can move it over here and then you say, okay, this is an A and then this is an R. But the R doesn't occur in the pattern. So in fact, you know that you could actually move this over to ALA, and then you're going to get this. And you've actually already read this A. So now you don't read this A at all, right? Because you don't read it here, and then here you see the B, so you slide this over, and then you see the R. So you never read that character. So you don't have to read the whole input. How exactly you do the sliding in Boyer-Moore, if you see a character that's not in the pattern, then you know you can slide the pattern past that. So how exactly you do the sliding, you build, again, you do sort of a table, and this tells you how far to slide in each case. And if you're really lucky and the alphabet is big and say the strings are randomly generated, then how far, suppose that the alphabet of the text and the alphabet of the pattern, so if the text is X, Q, Z, 5, W, P, 3, K, 4, and the pattern is ALA, you would do a comparison here and then slide the pattern and say, okay, the next comparison I do, the next place ALA could occur, I haven't looked at this stuff yet, would be here. I do this occurrence, I do this comparison, and then I would do this, and I would end up doing only one comparison for every m characters, if the alphabets are completely different. So actually, what you can get in practice, sort of in the, I know I said I hate talking about the best case, but in the best case, you can get something like O of m, I believe it's m, plus n over m. Okay? Because in this case, you spend some time, something in terms of m. I think it's linear. I didn't actually check that. I've taught this before, but it was a while ago. 2 years, maybe? Which for me is not very much, but for you, for most of you, relatively speaking, like 2 years ago, yeah, you weren't still in high school, but okay. So 2 years to you may sound like a lot. Okay, so something small in terms of m plus n over m. So if the text is very big and the pattern is very small, and you're not expecting to see and the alphabet is pretty big, then Boyer-Moore is actually in practice very, very fast. This is smaller, so this is best case. Best case, or with certain assumptions, you can get average case. If the strings are randomly generated and the alphabet is sufficiently large, for example, then so you get something, you get a running time that's actually sublinear in the input size, which is kind of cool. So I have, I think I wrote a paper about, yeah, I did write a paper about this once. Because I was in a presentation and somebody said, yeah, and so we get this bound, which is optimal because we need to look at the input. And then somebody said, do you need to, no, somebody said, can you improve that? And the presenter said, no, because you need to look at the input. And then I thought, wait, do you need to look at the input? And so I asked that. And then afterwards, a bunch of us got together and this one really smart person said, no, you don't need to look at the input. So okay, I ended up on the paper somehow. but the smart person did most of the work. Okay, so um, I could tell you about this person. So he's a star in my field. Okay, so that's good. So how much time do I have? Well, that was only 10 minutes. So that was Boyer-Moore. You can read about it online. You can read about it in the book. I want to get to Carp-Raven. I'm actually going to stop. I can always trim this. But I'm going to stop this and make this section about Boyer-Moore. And then we're going to spend more time on Carp-Raven. Okay. Yeah.